What is going on, everyone? Spencer, I have freaking missed you. I know we talked on Monday, but there is so much stuff going on with this Houston Texans team. We're here on a Sunday. We're feeling uplifted, blessed, and highly favored. It's a beautiful day outside, Spence.
Yes, sir. It's crazy to think that just less than 2 weeks ago, we were all frozen under snow. And now you look outside, it's beautiful 70-degree weather.
Mm,
Get outside, go throw the frisbee with your dog, throw some meat on the barbecue, man. Go enjoy
sir.
this day. It's a beautiful day.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm gonna do today, man. I'm gonna throw some meat on the grill, enjoy some time with the people. Cannot wait. But one thing that has been on my mind, well, first episode is brought to you powered by BayUS. They're giving us a 150% sign up bonus on our first deposit up to $2,000. On our second and third deposit, it's a 125% bonus. Promo code YouTube 150 gets that for you guys. Spencer, we don't know who the Houston Texans offensive coordinator for 2025 is going to be. Now, question: how are you feeling with this interviewing process taking days and there's no signs of it? Like, there's no signs of the Houston Texans hiring someone tomorrow or on Tuesday. It feels like they are going to take their time. A lot of us, including myself, are feeling very impatient.
Yeah, I think we have to just trust the process. We trust Nick. We trust D'Amico, right? It has been a little longer than I was anticipating. We're coming up close to 2 weeks since they fired Bobby Slowick after the season ended, that they have not found their next OC yet. And I'm glad they're taking their time though, despite I want that satisfaction of when they find the name, we find out who it is so we can all start looking into it. But interview everyone. They have spammed interview requests across the entire NFL and some college teams as well. It is so important that they nail this hire, Ruben, that I'm okay if they want to take their time. At this point, it doesn't seem like they're losing out on any candidates they want. They are still the most coveted OC job that's available right now. So they'll have their pick of the litter, I think.
Here's where I give you some pushback. You don't fire Bobby Slowick if you don't have a plan. I feel like maybe they had their guy, or they wanted someone in particular. Whether or not that guy got hired somewhere else, that guy doesn't want to leave the situation that he is at. I feel like the Houston Texans right now are in plan B of going with someone who they initially didn't thought that they were going to get. So a lot of fans are also, man, disappointed by how long this is taking.
I mean, the thing is, again, we got to trust the process. I trust Nick. I trust D'Amico. And you're right. They should have had a plan when they make such a drastic move as firing Bobby Slowick in the manner they did. I was surprised they did it so late after the
Yeah.
season had ended. We were coming up on the conference championships and they finally decided to do it. What was the reason why they waited after exit interviews and all that? Probably because you're right. They probably did have a plan and maybe that fell through. Maybe it was Chip Kelly and he expressed interest that he was going to stay in Ohio State. Perhaps not. I still also think there's time for people to still emerge for this OC job. And
Mhm.
we'll talk about some of those candidates today, but I'm going to be optimistic, but I'll tell you this, Ruben, whoever they go with, I'm going to try to keep myself on an excitement level of 7 out of 10 because they won't be, whoever it is, they won't be perfect. They'll
Mhm.
have flaws that you can poke in there, and it is simply the OC job. We are, and it's important of that as that role is for the success of this team after what we saw last year with Bobby Slowick. I also want us to remember, as long as seven's there, we
Yes.
gonna ride. We gonna be okay.
Well, speaking of Chip Kelly, he went viral yesterday all over Houston Texans Twitter. And I got the message at 6 o'clock in the morning. Shout out to our guy Patrick Storm. Now, he did not take the picture, but he was sent the picture. And the picture was of Chip Kelly at Bush Airport, and he was on a departed flight. The fan who took the photo also took a selfie with Chip Kelly. Now, allegedly,
Allegedly.
he asked Chip Kelly about the Texans role. Chip Kelly being very professional, didn't say nothing but smiled. And that was all she wrote. And for the next 5 hours, early in the morning, it was Chip Kelly all over Houston Texans Twitter. What were your thoughts on seeing that yesterday?
Well, us having talked on the Swarm over on Athletically Decline's YouTube channel, that is both of our number one option.
Yeah.
And he is who I would be the most excited about to have the OC job for the Texans. But I still feel like by now we would have heard something. We would have seen that they had an interview request. They would have had it scheduled.
Yeah.
Now, unless they really just went zero dark 30 and they did it all under wraps, which to this organization's credit,
Won't surprise me.
since Nick Casario's time here, they have been very close to the chest on a lot of things. For example, what comes to mind is the Stephon Diggs trade. That one came out of nowhere. I remember there were Texans content creators, Texans Twitter, basically saying that there was no chance that wasn't going to happen. And then boom, it happens. They traded for Stephon Diggs. So Nick Casario does play things very close to the chest. But seeing him in Bush, I won't lie, when I saw that picture, Ruben, I questioned it a little bit because I was like, Chip Kelly does look like a generic old white guy. So it's possible this is just your generic old white guy, but I'm glad we got the confirmation that that was indeed him. Maybe it was recruiting for Ohio State. Maybe he did get a secret under the radar interview with the Texans. Who knows, man?
It's like, how do you not have him in the city and not even just have a conversation with him? Because according to Jonathan Jones, the Texans viewed him as the top, like one of the top candidates for the offensive coordinator job. So the fact that he was in the H, there had to be a meeting somewhere. If it didn't happen, then hey, maybe Chip Kelly is not the guy for the Houston Texans. But there were a lot of signs pointing to Chip Kelly, right? You look at some of the people that they interviewed, Spencer. Thad Lewis played for Chip Kelly on the Eagles, on the 49ers, and was on the UCLA coaching staff. Who was the other one? Jeff Nixon.
Jeff Nixon,
The Syracuse Orange offensive coordinator was the tight ends coach under Chip Kelly when he was in the San Francisco 49ers. So we, we're coming up with with the theory that maybe they're interviewing the staff of Chip Kelly, and there's no news now, Spencer, which is why a lot of fans are like frantic and asking what's going on. But the Chip Kelly stuff, I think it's not going to end until the Houston Texans hire an offensive coordinator.
We will find a way to theorize and come up with a way, even if it's just the gif of, so you're telling me there's a chance. We will figure out a way to put Chip Kelly as the OC of the Texans because it just makes so much sense. The offensive pedigree and his background, the connections with DeMeco Ryans, where he's at as a head coaching, former head coaching candidate, offensive coordinator now in his career with Ohio State. It just makes all the sense. It fits like a glove, but money's got to talk and the situation's got to be right for him to leave a spot where he just won a natty. And that is hard to walk away, even if NFL is king.
Yeah, so excited to see what could potentially happen there. We just had a recent interview with a Adam Stenavich, who is currently with the Green Bay Packers as an offensive coordinator. Now, we know he does not call plays. That is for Coach LaFleur. Now, what is interesting about Coach Stenavich, Spence, is as a player, he was right here in the H from 2008 to 2010. You look at his time as a coach. It started off in Michigan in 2011, strength and conditioning. Then he, became a graduate assistant. Then this is where my interest, peaked. Northern Arizona, O-line coach. San Jose State, O-line coach. San Francisco 49ers, assistant offensive line coach. Green Bay Packers, offensive line coach, and so on and so on. He's been with Green Bay since 2019. And now is the offensive coordinator. What are two of the biggest concerns for this Houston Texan offense?
Starts with the offensive line, brother. Yeah, and I think I look at this Green Bay Packers offensive line, and it's hard to say, who gets the credit for the state of that offense. You mentioned Matt LaFleur was the play caller, but This was a unit for the Packers, their offensive line, that for the last 4 or 5 years has been one of the better offensive line units in football, despite not
Mhm.
having a ton of household names. You have David Bakhtiari, but other than that, they haven't really had anyone come through that someone would know off the top of their head. So that tells me that he is someone that can take personnel that he is given. He can
Mhm.
take the lemons and turn them into lemonade. On the play calling inexperience, that is a bit of a concern. And I'll say this as well. It is a little concerning that he's been the OC for the past 3 to 4 years,
Mhm.
however long it's been with the Packers. And I've seen this, and this is fans talking, and that's what we are, right? But I've seen Green Bay Packers fans over the years call for this guy's head, call for him to lose his jobs at time. Which again, that goes back to my original point. How much can you really blame on any offensive shortcomings on their OC if the head
Yeah.
coach is the one doing the play calling? Who has the responsibilities with scheme? We don't know a lot of that stuff. That stuff that's figured out behind closed doors. But in theory, I like seeing a name that's different from the brain trust that we had seen before. It's different from the Bobby Slowick, the Shanahan type of offenses. It's
Mhm.
something from Matt LaFleur, coming more so from the Sean McVay side of things. I would be on board with this one because, again, you mentioned it. First and foremost, that offensive line is going to get addressed immediately if they were to go with Adam Stenavich.
Absolutely. Now, Cody Stoots had brought this up. For him to get this interview, for this to be a lateral move, it would have had to been green lighted by the Green Bay Packers and Coach Matt LaFleur. So, what does that say about a coach if they're willing to, let him go somewhere and be the exact same thing that, that he is currently with the Green Bay Packers?
Yeah, it could be a red flag. It could be a red flag that they don't value him that much, but it also could just be the typical spot that we have seen NFL teams operate in, which is we're not going to keep guys on our staff from advancing in their careers. And even if it would be a lateral move in title, obviously his responsibilities would increase in Houston if he were to be the play caller, which for all intents and purposes, we can safely assume that if he were to get the OC job in Houston, he would be calling the plays, and the Packers would just keep rolling with another option at OC, but Matt LaFleur would continue to call plays there. That would be what's appealing if you're Adam Stenavich about the Houston job as opposed to where you're at now.
Mm. This is something that's very interesting that kind of makes me, raise my eyebrow at Mr. Stenavich. So in 2021, his unit dealt with the loss of many key players. Star offensive tackle David Bakhtiari. He played just one half of football throughout the entire season. All-pro lineman Elton Jenkins lost for the whole season due to a knee injury. The rookie center, Josh Myers, left a week 6 games with a knee injury and did not return into the playoffs. Right tackle Billy Turner lost to a knee injury in week 14. However, quarterback Aaron Rodgers was just sacked on 5.3% of his dropbacks and won the NFL MVP award for the second consecutive season, while running backs Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon both had 750-yard seasons. Let me ask you a question. How effective would C.J. Stroud be if he was only pressured on 5.3% of his dropbacks?
I would want to know what that number was for the Texans in 2024, because I'd be willing to bet, just don't have the numbers in front of me. I'm willing to bet that that's at least 5 times bigger for what CJ faced this season. And that is spectacular. Again, it goes back to what I said. There was a couple names in there that you've known that have had some accolades, but
Mhm.
this is a unit that has been successful despite personnel being injured, roster turnover, etc. And here's the deal. Aaron Jones is a great running back, but if you're telling me this is an offensive scheme that had A.J. Dillon having 750 yards of production, no disrespect to the man, but that is an offense I
Mhm.
think has potential. Now, that was at a point, I believe, in his career where he was still the O-line coach. He wasn't yet the OC at that
He was
time.
also he was the O-line coach and run game
Yes, and then I believe he was the one that replaced
Nathaniel Hackett.
yes. Yeah, he replaced Nathaniel Hackett, and that's been who's been the spot. That's who's been the OC since then. So I like someone that's been in a spot. It kind of reminds me of not as prolific or as high pedigree or status as when the Chiefs offensive coordinator Eric Bieniemy left for the same job with Washington last year. Now, obviously, that didn't end up working out. I believe he was one and done when the regime got canned as a whole. But we've seen it before. If the offensive responsibilities increase at the next spot, we will see guys leave for a lateral move. So I would get on board with Adam Stenavich. I think I'd probably still, if it's not going to be Chip Kelly, I think I still probably lean towards
Nick.
Kelly.
Okay.
But Stenavich is up there for me because I like what he has done with the Packers in his various roles.
Yeah, and I like that. It's a little more, sexy when you look at the resume. When you don't see New England, when you don't see, a lot of other, organizations that we are used to. With the Green Bay Packers, and the point that I brought up saying, well, if the team is going to let him do a lateral move, what does that tell you? Maybe Coach LaFleur is like, hey man, you've learned under me for the past couple of years. Go get yourself an opportunity to go out there and call plays and potentially further your coaching career. If I'm Coach LaFleur, I'm never going to give up play calling. So maybe this will be an opportunity for him to, boost himself up. But I think it was very interesting. And he's one of my dark horses, Spencer. He is. I still think it might be Nick Caley. I think that his history with general manager Nick Caserio, John Carroll, the same college. You know who else went to John Carroll? Josh McCown and Frank Ross. So
Okay.
is he going to, continue the history and be a Houston Texans coach? But tight ends coach for New England from 2017 to 22. Goes to the Rams in 2023 and 2024. This is where, you kind of get the vision of Nick Caserio, the Sean McVay offense. Pass game coordinator this season. We know how good LA's offense is. I like the fact that in the offseason, he was offered the OC job for the New England Patriots. He said no. He decided to stay one more year and learn under Coach McVay. So maybe this was, because, to be honest with you, man, he passed up the opportunity of a lifetime to get your own NFL offense, get some millions in your bank account, but no, bet it on himself, and now has an opportunity to do the exact same thing with a potentially better offense with CJ Stroud, Nico, Joe Mixon, and Lammy. I don't know how offensive coordinators are not like, hey, I want to go to Houston. I want to go to Houston. Look at what they could potentially do for my career.
Yeah, the Texans' job is definitely, of all the OC jobs that have opened up this offseason, the Texans have to be by far the most appealing, just given that they have the established quarterback, they have the left tackle, they have the running back, they have all the pieces there, the wide receiver, right? Shout out my boy Nico.
Hey,
they have all the pieces there. They just need the scheme and the play caller to put it all together. And this unit absolutely should be better than the bottom 10 unit that we saw in 24. They should be vastly improved in 25. And that is what the season's going to rely on. They have to nail this hire. It's so, so important that they get it right. And one thing I'll mention as well about Nick Caley. You mentioned him turning down the Patriots job. He also is still being picky about his selection this offseason as he turned down the New York Jets as well.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to be a part of that mayhem up in New York either. That is a situation I definitely want to steer clear from if I am Nick Caley, and I have other jobs that I could look at as well.
What do you think about Brian Johnson?
That one terrifies me. I'm not going to lie. I don't like that one at all. He was horrendous, one and done OC for the Philadelphia Eagles. And I know they added Saquon, but the difference between they have a Super Bowl sandwich right now. And the difference is that offense in the year they did not go to the Super Bowl was led by Brian Johnson. That enough right there is for me to just kind of be turned off by him. Do guys do better in their second chances? Absolutely. We've seen that time and time again. But Brian Johnson's not one I want to take a chance on resurrecting his career as a play caller when CJ Stroud is still on his rookie contract. They need to nail it. And Brian Johnson, to me, I would not be excited about. I would get on board with it because I have to be, but I would not be fired up about that one like I would with some of these other names we've talked about.
Yeah, Brian Johnson this season was with the Washington Commanders as an assistant head coach and offensive passing game coordinator. So maybe he learned something from Cliff Kingsbury. Another name that also has an opportunity to be called for the next OC is Gerard Johnson, Spencer. Now, this is where I get scared. When we talk about Gerard Johnson, we say he has known CJ Stroud since high school. If you go back and watch the Elite 11 season on YouTube, young CJ Stroud wins it. Gerard Johnson is back there watching and coaching. I don't want that to be the reason why he gets the OC job, because that's the main thing that we are going to be talking about, is the fact that because of the history, you think that these two know each other quite well. You think that these two will have a trust going into the games week in and week out. First time play caller. He's been with the team, the previous 2 seasons as a quarterbacks coach. I think this could potentially be the internal hire if they do decide to go internal. But there's a lot of unknowns with Gerard Johnson. What type of offense is he going to bring to the Houston Texans? And that's just the main concern. And the only thing we have to, be excited about is the fact that he's known CJ for years.
Well, I'd also add this. I like that his background, despite spending 2 years under Bobby Slowick here in Houston. Before that, he spent some time in Minnesota with Kevin O'Connell, another brilliant offensive mind that I think, ideally, someone like Gerard Johnson, when you're a young up-and-coming candidate who has interviewed with other teams for the OC job as well, it wouldn't just be the Texans that think he is capable of being an OC. But in his time in the NFL as a coach, he's come from different brain trusts. It's not like if you look at Bobby Slowick's, it's pretty much he was a San Francisco guy through and through, and he even started off as a video analyst. I like that Gerard Johnson is starting off. He was a quarterbacks guy, true and true since day one. He's been all about the quarterbacks, dating back to his time as a quarterback at Texas A&M University. I think he would bring in a whole lot of different ideas. He would obviously have to tell ownership and tell DeMeco Ryans in his interview, why are you going to be different from Bobby Slowick when you were part of that same staff? That had to probably have been
biggest question.
The first or second question when he sat down for that interview that had to have been addressed. I would like to think if they go with Gerard Johnson, they feel confident in his plan for that. I would also think if he were to get the job, they would have a spot for another internal candidate, Bill Lazor, who has interviewed for OC. He would have some kind of role on this staff. I'm not excited about him. If I had to pick an internal candidate, I'm with you. I think I would go Gerard Johnson. But I also, again, would rather bring in someone external and hope that they would want to keep Gerard Johnson as the quarterback's coach again. There were teams making runs at him last year, and they upped his contract. Ironically, the same time they upped Slowick's contract to keep him in town as well. So you can tell the Texans really value Gerard Johnson, and I think you could do worse. Again, not excited. I think you could do worse, though.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't be excited at all. If I see Gerard Johnson and Bill Lazor up there. I think the top three for me, Nick Caley. I'll throw in Adam Stenavich, and I'll just keep Gerard Johnson at 3 because I feel like he is a likely option to be the Houston Texans offensive coordinator. But I think with anyone in-house, bro, the first game something goes wrong offensively, or the first sign of Gerard Johnson offense looking like Bobby Slowick's offense, Texans Twitter is going to go absolutely crazy. This is year 3 of CJ Stroud. You cannot mess this up. And I'm not saying that CJ won't be good in the future, but while you have him on this rookie contract, your window is as wide as it can be. Bring as much talent as you can while he is under this rookie deal until you have to make him one of the highest paid guys in this league. And you just hope that your offensive mind is smart enough to give you let's say a middle of the pack offense, because you have the defense. DeMeco Ryans has shown you time and time again that he can make elite quarterbacks look silly. What if the Houston Texans offense moved from what were we, 21 to 15th? How much better would we have been this season?
Yeah, it would have been significantly better just to make us run of the mill. And who knows, If you have an average offense going into the playoffs, maybe they put something a little bit better than they did in Kansas City, where they only had 12 points on the offensive side of things.
Well, Spencer, we're just going to have to wait and find out, brother. But one thing for sure is I'm excited. We have a lot of great content coming up for the Swarm on Athletically Decline's YouTube channel, man. Can you let us know where they can find you and all your latest work?
Yes, sir. You can get me at Athletically Declined on YouTube. We are also on TikTok, Instagram, as well as Facebook. Anywhere you get your social medias, look up Athletically Declined. We are talking ball all the way from our Houston Texans as far down as we are talking wrestling. Royal Rumble watch along yesterday was a lot of fun. So make sure you get us there. Me personally, I am on X, Roland Nolan, as well on Instagram as at Mr. Fantasy FF, dropping fantasy football content throughout the regular season and the off season. Got my first video coming up for the off season of Mr. Fantasy coming up pretty soon.
Last thing before I let you go, what was your initial thoughts on Luka being traded?
My jaw still is not off the floor. I still can't believe that happened. If I had to put it into NFL terms, it would be like if you see someone like the Bengals trade Joe Burrow for like Matthew Stafford. It makes no sense. I can't believe they did it, but hey, another reason why I love being a Houston fan right now, because we don't have those problems down here in the H, trading away star players. Imagine if we traded CJ like that. That's just crazy.
Nah, bro, it's more than that. Like, I saw a tweet that said, "What if you traded Lamar Jackson for Joe Burrow in the middle of the season?"
Yeah,
like
that's what we're talking about. It's insane.
It's absolutely insane. But ladies and gentlemen, look forward to more content coming from soon. You know what we do here, dropping daily Houston Texans content. Episode brought to you and powered by BetUS. Do us all a favor. Have a real blessed rest of your Sunday. It is beautiful outside. Go have some fun.